Hey, so this video goes through the assignment for Essay 3, Further Down the Rabbit Hole, and a sample paper that I wrote. So, I'm pointing out what things need to go in there, some differences in the APA citation, things like that. So it should help you as you're thinking about your transition from Essay 2, which is and always will be MLA, right, to Essay 3, which is and always will be APA, right? So anyway, I hope it helps. Any references to dates and times when things are due is to my Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, because that's when I recorded this. So if you're in my Tuesday, Thursday class, just know, go by our Tuesday, Thursday schedule. Okay, cool beans. All right, take care. Enjoy the ninja, I guess. That's what I got. Bye. And kind of making that kind of the major force where you would develop, that or something like that. So everybody's is different. I can't say we'll eat everything. Let's see, we've talked about those ideas for conference, so use those ideas to develop another 2.5 to 3 pages, depends on where you are. And remember, your OneDrive file has the video in it, has my comments, all that kind of thing in there. Most importantly, as you finish work on finishing this, look at your introduction and conclusion. Now that you've added to the essay, the biggest danger is to assume this is the same paper. Once you add more ideas and bigger ideas, it's not the same thing that you did the first time around. Yeah, you've already drafted part of it, but really when you think about for Essay 2, yeah, you're going to finish that up, clean it up. It's the 3-page paper right there. That's done. But once you start adding to it, you're changing the nature of this paper. So if you just kind of slam some stuff in the middle and don't really think about what's your whole paper saying now that you've got this new information, it's just not going to work. It's going to be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you just added some more to it, right? So you're focusing on deeper or more specifically. You need to adjust your beginning and ending to reflect your main point for the additional information and thoughts you've provided. And that's what I found myself doing last night as I worked on my Essay 3, because again, since I haven't had any students writing this and been able to say, hey, I'd love to use your draft as a sample, okay, could I? I'm having to do it myself. So, same goes for your cover letter. Make sure you update it to fit your experience with putting Essay 3 together, okay? Beginning considerations, this is pretty much the same. This does say it's not, it's building on your previous essay, but it's not the same. It is APA format. All the rest of this is still the same. You're looking at your topic, making your claim, using things to support it, and indicating the value, importance, or compelling reason to see it the way you see it, okay? Audience, general college educated audience. The difference is now we're going to use 6 sources. 4 of them must be college level sources. The others may be your topic or the thing that inspired you. You can use more than 6, but as a general rule, you should not have more sources than you do pages of text. Now, I just well, not really, because, I thought I put this in here. Oh, I think I put it down in the grade sheet. Remember, if you have just a definition or something like that, like I use the definition for phrenology, and then I give that kind of definition from Crash Course, but I never really use anything else in that Crash Course video. Those really don't count as sources, right? I'm just kind of saying, look, here's the definition. So I need to cite them because I quoted them in my paper, but it's not really a hefty source. So I have about 10 sources or so. I got to cut it down too. I'm like, I'll be doing thinking over Thanksgiving. So APA format, and we will also look at samples. There we go. So APA style in this assignment, there are some resources. So this is the official web page. If you're citing any of these things, here's nice links to them from the APA style blog, which is their official web page. Here's the whole Purdue OWL APA page. So when you go there, because again, remember, you can have the library and all that cite it for you, but you need to check it. So you want to go look at what it is, right? And they have their in-text citations and then their reference list stuff. But you can also do the search. Just make sure you have APA sample that you're looking at. I also put in writing down the basics, and then the writer's reference, page 849 through 852 has, yes, I know, there it is. I knew it would happen. Help me understand. Proceed. Okay. It's not unsafe. You asshole. It's not. Quit calling me unsafe. I'm not. 849. Okay. So APA citation models, and you can go down like, what if you have 2 authors, 3 or 5, you know, that kind of thing. Multiple citations to the same work in 1 paragraph. Here's the references at the end. So what do you do with different author name problems? And then here we go. They've got journal. Oh, it would be nice if I could make that bigger where you can see it. Print, web, database, article, magazine, newspaper, all of that. You know it's a journal if you get that volume, issue, or number, that kind of thing, and it kind of makes you a little cross-eyed when you read it. Or if the library tells you it is, right? Okay. Or if journal's in the name, okay? So these are really good. I just gave you because you can click on those and it'll take you there. So I just gave you the links to those pages. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Da, da, da. Let's see. What are these books, man? Final essay, begin working on it. Reviewing discussion during our conference. Make sure you look at those things and keep those in mind as you write, you know, for all the grammar stuff, things like that. Should follow the same structure, so we've got that. And then I have those, so again, 6 pages, you know, sources, tips, all the links that are in it's the same rubric as the essay 2, it's just instead of the 3 sources, it's 6, that's it, okay? Because we're doing the same kind of argument. So you don't need to change the tone of your voice unless, like we talked about it, okay? Like for some of you, and I do it too, where it's like, oh, that's a little too informal, that kind of thing. So, questions? Okay. All right, cool bean. So my paper used to be called, Enough for All of Us. But now it's called What Are These Books for You? Considering the Role of Reading in Life. And so this is APA format. So you want to make sure with you, and if you have your APA format, get it out just in case you can make some notes here. We didn't want to hear about history. History was good. So if you see something that I'm fixing in terms of the citation. So you're going to have that, yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, does it have to be 3 pages more, or like?
No. It's going to be a total of 6 pages.
Oh.
Okay. Mine's like super long because I'm an English teacher. I get carried away because I like this shit. Oh man, what's wrong with me? I don't know. We just don't ask that question anymore. So you've got half of your paper written, right? Unless we talked about something that, yeah, this is really going to have to go, but here's what you can put, right? So if you work on your essay 2, you know, and get that solid, then we've talked about those plans in conference and saying, okay, here's what you could do, you know, these are the possibilities kind of things. So, and there should be some notes too. I'm pretty sure we did notes on your, you know, the feedback that's in your folder. So, go to your OneDrive and then go to your, it should be under shared, where you would find the one I shared with you. So, we're not going to find it there because it's in my files. Cool. Okay. All right. Oh, let me just close that. Yeah, there we go. So all we have for a header, and I've got the annotations here so it doesn't look exactly the same there. All we have for the header is just your page number. That's it. So, you know, you want to look at yours and make sure it's got that. The title of the essay is here and on the very first page where your essay starts, okay? And it's bold in both places. And then when we go down to the bottom here, we can see the works cited, the references, and that's in bold as well.
So
okay.
Instead of calling the page the works cited page, now we're calling it references?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. And so that's the thing. Like I said, APA and MLA is like Wendy's and Taco
That's
Bell.
only for essay 3,
Yeah.
right?
Well, SA3, yeah, because SA3 is APA. Yes, exactly. So just remember, what I'm showing you right now is SA3, just so you see how the bigger idea played out. Okay?
But on our SA2, our last page, which is a works cited page, it should say works cited.
It's still MLA. Okay. Do it MLA, exactly. And that's why you want to remember, SA2 is MLA. I'm asking you to balance these two things. You can do it. It's good for your brain. I'll have to do it all the time, right? Ah, lots of stuff. So, yeah, when you look at the SA2, here's my SA2, and so that's the MLA format, right? And you remember, I started with, it seems to be a human trait to look down on others. I put the meme in. I wasn't sure, should it stay or go. In a final of this, it would go. And then I talked about like different people saying, this highbrow, lowbrow, like, school canon stuff versus just reading for entertainment, what different people say about it. And then even how those things we kind of think may not be, like college, whatever, that they are used in colleges, right? Not just in literature classes too, because I also gave the example of, here, Gerd and Foster, where they use X-Men ethics, using comic books to teach business ethics. Like they're using this in their business ethics class. So, saying, look, there's a lot to be learned. And I share what they say. And then in the end, I use this last example, this last quote from Resnick. Sometimes I just want a story that's juicy, that sucks me in or lets me be lazy. I want to read because it's fun. There's nothing wrong with lowbrow lit, also nothing wrong with highbrow lit, lowbrow, highbrow, low, high, midbrow. The border is blurring, and authors are increasingly seen as swaying between the two. Readers need to stop shaming other readers for having a healthy appreciation for both. And then I just wrap it up by saying, looking at the recent research, it's clear universities, professors, readers are coming to terms with the idea that guilty pleasures have things to teach us. But even more than that, perhaps it's a time to make a real effort to bring value back to reading simply for the sake of enjoyment. Then we might all learn a little more without feeling like we have to hide, ignore, or avoid those things that can make life a little more fun. So that's my basic argument there, right? I've said, look, we need to not, like, Lainey Lou in the TED Talk where she's like her friends of, embarrassed reading gossip magazines. I'm making kind of the same argument just about reading, right? That whether you're reading comics or reading Shakespeare, there shouldn't be shame either way, right? And that also maybe we just do need to kind of say, hey, let's start doing this for fun some more. And then I have all the sources I used, and again, the crash course one right here, and then also the Merriam-Webster one right here. Those are both definitions. So those don't really count as my big sources, just definitions. But I have Center Counter Library, the X-Men one, and then the Resnick, and then the Why Comics Matter. So I ended up having 4 sources. Okay, 3 is all you need, okay, right? But here's what happened when I started working on the other one, the APA paper, this weekend. So there's my references. Notice they are different, right? This time we have last name. We're putting that last name first so that we can alphabetize what's there. If we have something like Center County Library, then we don't mess that up, right? We just put Center County Library, El Paso Community College. You don't put college, comma, El Paso Community, right? So we're just organizing this with people's first person's name last. And actually, APA does both. And then the date, and then all that. I was lucky. I got mine all from the library, so I did that. I did find out that the onboard thing to cite the article, I just asked if it would cite this, and I didn't actually even get the website in before it finished. But then I double checked it, and it said, and I told it, cite in APA. Make sure you tell it APA. I had asked before APA stuff. So, but it actually ended up giving me all of these, and I looked it up, and it was right. The only thing I needed to add in was the link at the end. Okay? So a very good use of AI. All right, so I renamed it. It's not enough for all of us, right? Now it's called, What Are These Books for You? Considering the Role of Reading in Life. So I did that two-part title, right? One of them is just blah, right? And one of them's got a little hook, okay? And I've got my format there, and here we go. I did start, now I was going to change it, but then I just really loved it. I had a few other things here. So I did start with basically the same introduction, but I have a different thesis. Whereas before I said here, my thesis was, from the beginning, these words were used to include and exclude others by calling them canon. However, there are many reasons we should let go of these categories and rankings and understand reading as reading and, oh, just pull it hard, yeah, and valuable in and of itself. There we go, cool. Use your muscles. All right, so that was my initial thing. I have the same thing, right? I talk about Center County Library. I added that the way they describe, you know, the meme in there, right? It showed an image of Ken from the Barbie movie standing between Einstein and Oppenheimer from the Oppenheimer movie. Einstein's labeled that science book I plan on reading. Oppenheimer is labeled the classic book I pretend to read. Ken is labeled what I'm actually reading. Then they asked, what are these books for you? Their question and this meme reveal a lot about the way we value some things and malign others. In many communities, especially academic ones, and so here I keep that, you know, highbrow, lowbrow, right? From the beginning, they were used to include and exclude. And so I kept most of my introduction pretty much the same. I got rid of the picture and then had to put the description in there, okay? But once I wrote the rest of this essay and I added to it, I went back and I said, okay, what are you really saying, right? And so what I say is, however, there are many benefits to reading both simply pleasurable and challenging text and making sure we develop our literary skills as a lifelong pursuit. I knew, I was looking at it last night, I read it so much, I'm like, I need to read it in class, I can find all those mistakes. So my point now isn't just, oh, let's just read for fun. My point now is we need both, and we need to actually understand that we have to develop our ongoing literacy over our lifetime. And here's why, okay? Developing a strong foundation of literacy is crucial for all of us. Paper, MD, if you don't have a date for one of your sources, because remember, we're going to have author and then the location. That location is going to go in the parentheses unless it's part of our sentence. The way you make sure you got your parentheses right is don't read what's in your parentheses. Does your sentence still make sense? This is the name of an author, so I say paper, it's actually a company. Paper, an educational technology company, shares, I need a comma there, a number of significant effects of not developing a strong literacy foundation. And you can see I can skip it because remember, parentheses are related, but they're not relevant. We can totally do without them, right? But APA says, hey, let people know what the date is, okay? And so I do it, okay? Now, what I have here is I have one of the experts they quote, Panaton, says that in the workplace, adequate literacy, I changed some words so that, you know, it flowed well, may mean being proficient in several computer programs, knowing how to research and solve complex problems, or handling multiple projects. And they note that this can affect securing and maintaining steady employment. So when I don't have page numbers, you know, MLA let us get away with not even having to do anything, right? We didn't have to worry about that location at the end. APA says not so fast, young guns. You must work harder, okay? So when I go to this, right, what I have is I'm going to have the name. I pray for section numbers. That's why I say if you can get the PDF, something with page numbers, get it. Makes it so much easier. But this is under the section So I have, if I was quoting from this or this, it would just be para for paragraph 1 or 2. But once I have sections, I'm able to say, okay, let me give you, oh, employment opportunities, paragraph 1. That quote I just used is right there. So my citation looks like this. Employment opportunities, I capitalize the major words, and PARA, period 1 is paragraph 1. Okay? So if you have a website and you don't have the page numbers because it's not PDF, then you're going to have to look at that. If you don't have any headings in that article, you're going to have to count all of them. I had one where I had to count like 9 paragraphs. It was so hard. Exactly, right? It may be a pain in the ass, but have you ever tried to dig a ditch in the desert? And that is hard, right? Counting 9 paragraphs, not so hard. Okay? So I usually highlight it and then make it, you know, control minus, or you can, you know, pinch it and make it smaller so I can see where it's highlighted, and I can just count 1, 2, 3, 4 up to the top. Okay, so. All right, and then I say in terms of income, they note that according to a UNESCO study on the importance of literacy, people, and now I have a quote. Now what I'm doing, you'll notice I only need to put that location in 2 times. If I have a direct quote, and if I'm giving like a specific statistic. Like say I still put it in my own words, but I put 30%, right? I can look at that article and say that's in paragraph 4, that's on page 49. That was at 4 minutes and 30 seconds into the video, right? Then I'm gonna give that location. If I have percentages, $30 billion, whatever, like a specific factual statistic, I will also cite that. But if I'm just paraphrasing it all on my own, I don't need that. Again, if you're writing APA, then generally, not always, but generally people who are having you write ATA are a little more picky about details. So you want to make sure and get this in. You also want to put them in because they like seeing those things. They really do. I'm just saying. That's my experiments, okay? All right, so we need, what is it? People with higher levels of education and higher literacy rates see an average income at the end of their careers that's 2 to 3 times higher than when they began working. And that is in the income and financial outcomes section, paragraph 2. And then I say furthermore, and this is the problem. Right now I have too many of these long quotes. Over Thanksgiving I need to work on getting rid of them because too many of them I'm not really kind of processing and making it my own. Okay, but I give this quote where we have, oh, what should I have done here? Anybody see my mistake?
Take out the both names.
Yes, exactly. Remember, APA in the paper, only last names. Only last names. So, according to Waldman and Swaby, oh, well, this is the same thing. But also I put it all at the end. So for people who struggle to read, the electoral process can become its own form of literacy test, creating impenetrable barriers at every step, from registration to casting a ballot. Indeed, the reporter's analysis found a tie between low literacy rates in a country and the likelihood of lower voter participation. And so there I have everything, because I didn't use this source, the Waldman and Swaby. It was actually in this one. Paper, no date, and then I gave, here's the section, and there's the paragraph number. So in that case, what I did is I have an indirect citation, and I just put all the author, date, location in those parentheses at the end. I made sure to say, here's who said this idea, because you gotta credit those ideas right. But I'm telling people also, here's where it came from. Okay. And then I also point out a number of things like this Vernon et al. So et al. Means and everybody else. Okay. That's and, it's Latin, right? The et just literally means and. So there's no period after it. But all is an abbreviation for something. I don't know what. Oh, I was seeing if writer's reference. Here we go. Let's go back to 850. Okay. Wait, here we go. So here we go. Work with 2 authors. Right here, we're going to put both their names in it. But once we get, 3 to 5 authors. Let's go to APA citation. Text. Okay, here we go. APA citation. Here we go. More than 2 authors. This is 7th edition. What do? We do. Slow down, Kelly. Right there. Okay. So here we go. We have, author's last name. Got it. Excellent, excellent. Multiple authors. Here we go. 1 author, 2 author, 3 authors. Once we start doing that, this would be our author, date, right? And if we had a location, it'd go in there. If we're putting it in our sentence, we put Harris et al., whoever et al. Just means than everybody else. When you want to check your grammar, just use they instead and make sure that works, okay? Does it match? So if you leave the et al. Out, like if the et al. Is not here, then this is just referring to an article by Harris. And so that's miscitation, which if people are real assholes, yes, I'll say it, okay? Then they'll be like, oh, that's plagiarism, right? I'm like, no, it's a mistake, right? But I'm just letting you know, right? So they say this is a degree of health literacy, or a definition of health literacy, and they say that it's about, how much people can understand, obtain, process, and understand basic health information and services. And what they say, and this is pretty important, is they say securing appropriate health care hinges on having necessary skills to read and fill out medical and health insurance forms, communicate with health care providers, and follow basic instructions and medical advice. At virtually every point along the healthcare services spectrum, the healthcare system behaves in a way that requires patients to read and understand important healthcare information. The information is dense, technical, and has jargon-filled language, which you all know if you've ever read an insert from any kind of prescription medication, right? I mean, it's just like make you cross-eyed. Not really made for us to understand, is it? But you can learn to decipher it. Right? But you have to work on that literacy level. Whenever I was going through, Jack's last days with him, I'd call my sister and I'd be like, I don't know how women who were in their 70s, 80s, I know why they die after their husbands die. It's because they're so tired and they've put off their own health care, right? And they've just been so stressed. Caregiving is a hard thing. It really is. But I told her, I said, and anybody who's not, like in this country, who's not primarily English speaker, how do you do that, translating both language? And she was like, in both questions, she was like, people don't, they die. Right? So, pretty damn serious. And because it struck me too, because I have that personal connection, right? Just real recent, real raw. And they say the cost can be measured in both human, financial terms, premature mortality, avoidable morbidity, racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic disparities in health and healthcare, and enormous avoidable cost. And this was from a source that's a PDF, so it has the page number, so it was really easy. I just looked where that quote was, and I put P, period, page number, because it's A-P-A. It's got a P in it. See, there's P in the paper. Sorry. Okay. And then I said, to prepare for this, so like I'm doing my talking about this, it's never easy. We must face more challenging reading. We need to grow and develop a deeper understanding. But what kind of reading helps us grow in the ways to support these aspects? So here's what I did, and I moved this around 2 or 3 times, okay, to figure out where all this goes. Was, I had that paper that just said, look, let's just read for the sake of reading, right? And I was going to put that kind of at the end, but it ended up in this middle place. Because I thought, well, what I've done now is I've laid out this reason that we need to be good readers just to kind of navigate our lives, right? And then I thought, well, let me just start with, as I was reorganizing, it just made sense to me. I looked at it and I moved stuff around and I'm like, no, I think this reads through better. And that's where you have to really read what you've written. Read your paper with an inquisitive mind of wanting to find out the information that other you a few minutes ago or hours ago or days ago wrote on the page, okay? And so here's where I talk about, you know, I give Resnick with her lowbrow, highbrow. So what did I do to fix Resnick? Took out a first name and boom, just put the date that article was written, just the year in the paper, shortcuts. Only need the year, okay? So I put that right after there. And then I went, and it was an article, so I had page numbers, so I just put a P in where MLA was just the one. I just put a P in right there, and there we go, okay? And so this is very similar, talking about, you know, how she is talking about reading just to read. There are many arguments for the value of what is considered lowbrow reader, so there's another sentence I had to change. And I think what I did was I just added this new one to the top because I know I had. I mean, the point of this paragraph is that researchers and writers point out some of the most commonly disparaged genres. Fan fiction is actually important as this point in society, noting that fan fiction and online communities open up a chance to share perspective of voices that are historically underrepresented. So, you know, I kept the same paragraph, but I added a new topic sentence, so I'm showing, here's how it connects with this main thing, right? That there is value to reading these things, right? And so here again, why? I just got rid of the first name and then put the date after it, put that P in there. You'll notice that throughout this, whenever I have a quote in my text, and it's not scooted over because it's long, I put the period after the citation. This is true in APA and MLA, same, okay? But here, where I had this long quote and I indented it, you know, because that whole thing's a quote, then I end the sentence and I just put my citation just alone like that, okay? Because it's already indented. You can see it goes with that part, okay? So that's my theory. There's nothing that they said did that. And then so this paragraph stayed the same except where I fixed my citation, understanding that what we easily dismiss as trivial stories are human stories is probably the greatest strength of anyone who looks beyond restricted classifications of literature. Yet, now this is new stuff. Even literature that may be looked down upon by some shows promise in improving brain function, okay? According to Quick, so boom, I have a new person. This is Quick, and this is 2023. Here we go. Hold on. Yeah, stop. He talks about, like, he has, this is a listicle, okay? 10 ways reading can improve your brain. We want to be careful with those. Not too many of those. You get too many of those, it's like, that's such lightweight shit, man. That's really, it's clickbait. Doesn't mean it's bad information, but really it's out there to make us click on it and read it and get our eyes on ads on those web pages.
What do you mean, no too many of?
Not too many of them in your sources, right? If you have all 10 sources, no. If you have all of your sources that are, 4 ways to do this, 10 ways to do that, that's just, we're working on some of these college level things too, right? So some of the things that are the studies, or like with yours, you have a couple of the experts in the field, right? And that's what all of you may have, some experts in the field, some of the studies, this, that, and the other. But I did like what he had to say, and so what I did was I took his, instead of like, don't put a list, bulleted list, 10 things. He says this, this, and that. So what I did was I turned it into a sentence. According to Quick, reading for at least 30 minutes a day has a number of positive effects on the brain, from strengthening it by developing stronger neural networks, reducing stress, enhancing creativity and imagination, improving memory, concentration, focus, and vocabulary, improving communication skills and mental health, as well as simply being entertaining. Oh my gosh, I got all 10, I thought I left one out. I got all 10 of them in a nice sentence, right?
But that's in your words, right?
That's in my words, yeah, but I make sure and say it's according to Quick, right? So when it's an idea, but since it's a paraphrase, and really, that's basically is the whole article. I just summed it up in one sentence, right? And when you do that, you don't need a page number because you're putting it in your own words, you're summing it up. If you're using a paraphrase, putting it in your own words, or a summary of kind of the whole article, you don't need page number, right? We need page numbers for, hey, here's the page, you can go find these exact words, or here's the time in the video, you could go hear these exact words, or 80%, $233, right, any 458 pounds, right, whatever if you're using an exact statistic, okay? But other than that, if you're putting in your own words, you don't need that. Again, it's a balance. It's that salt thing. Our bodies need a certain amount of salt. We get too much salt, not good, right? So somewhere in between, too many semicolons, we can't be like Grammarly and fall in love with the semicolon, no. But are they good to use here and there? Yes, right? And so that's the thing, is you want to go back to think about that article we started with when we started this journey, which was when even quotes can't save good paper, right? You've got to have you and your ideas in there. But if you just put too many quotes in there, and that's what I really like. As a teacher, I would give Kelly advice that, look, you need to cut down, paraphrase some of these, that kind of thing. But this was my just really banging this stuff in there and then looking at it and saying, okay, what kind of things do I need to shift around a little bit, right? What kind of things do I want to add in? So what I did was I went to the end of the paper and started adding in sources as I used one. I went to my references page and put that citation in. So boom, 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 right? The first thing I did was I would do that. I would read the article or read parts and say, oh yeah, I want to use some of that. And like literally I'd stop there and I would go cite it on my references page. Put it in the alphabetical order, do the citation, whether it came from the library or, you know, using the book or AI, whatever. Double checked it real quick, put it in there. And then I could go back up there and say, okay, so-and-so says this, and here's what I think. Okay, what about this, right? And I had like way too many sources I wanted to use because I'm a nerd.
So do we have to use all 6 sources in the paper?
Yeah, because if you don't use it on the paper, don't put it on your references page. What's on your references page we should be able to find it in the paper. What's on, see, I can go Control F, boom. Oh, I really like to do this better. This is much better. Here, let's see, 1301, rabbit hole, essay 3, what are the books for you? Come on. All right, so when I go down here to the bottom, here's my references page, and let me make this nice and big, okay? So when I go over here and I do Control F, I should find someplace I said it in the paper, and it should be cited. If you do that on your references page and it comes up and you can't find it, right? If you do that highlight and then look and you don't find it in your words, you have skipped a citation, or else you didn't use it in your paper, right? So if you used it in your paper, get your citation in there. If you didn't use it in your paper, delete it. Yeah, delete it from your reference. They are symbiotic relationship. Your references says, here's what I used in the paper. And readers should, and the reason we put these little shortcuts, these written hyperlinks, is so people can look at the references page and say, oh, okay, I trust that source, or I want to go read that, or wait, yeah, I might use this in my paper too. So it's a relationship. It's got to go back and forth. So yeah, you've got to have at least 6 sources to use. Okay. You already have 3, maybe more. Right, a couple of you had 4 in your paper. You already have 3 sources from your essay 2. So now it's just saying what we talked about, right? Like, where do you want to go with it? So anyway, let me finish up. So Borga says we shouldn't shy away from difficult text. And he says, this is a really good quote. He said, learning how to make sense of a technical text, technical science text, for example, may come in handy if students decide to work in HVAC or simply want to understand the effects of prescribed medicine, which I thought was really cool because he was referring to that health literacy. The skills they use to make sense of a history text may help in future legal careers, okay, but if we're not all going into legal, or complicated tax or mortgage documents. You want to own a home, you want to make more money, taxes get a little more complicated, right? literacy expert Shannon says that when we teach students to push through difficult text, what we're really doing is showing them how to gain access to all of these different sites of power in our society. So what I've done was I went from, okay, look, here's this kind of idea, the meme that inspired it, right? What are these books for you? The Oppenheimer, the Einstein, and the Ken, right? Ha, ha, ha. And said, but wait, it's important we kind of learn to read all of those different things. We may not do them all for enjoyment, okay, but that we need to. And so then I set up this, look, here's how important a deeper literacy is, just like in terms of health or things like that. And then I went and I said, okay, so what about just reading for pleasure? Does that help? And yeah, it does have some benefits. But then I moved on, and I've got sources here who are saying, yeah, no doubt, we're all going to encourage reading, but we need to learn to push through some harder texts for very serious reasons because of those things like our income, because of our health literacy, because of, you know, dealing with things in life. If you want to have a house, if you want to buy a car, understanding that contract you are signing that will affect your credit, your life, all that stuff. Until that stuff's taken out, we've got to understand that's a fact of life, right? So, and then I have another one, and here's where I really packed in too many quotes. And this was toward the end of the evening, and you know, my brain was tired. So it's okay to draft like this, where you just put like the things you want to use, and then I'll come back later and narrow them down, not so many long quotes, right? And talk more about kind of why is this so important. And this one talks about, you know, communicating with each other, understanding a state of affairs, finding knowledge. The reason to learn arises when a person finds out that her knowledge does not enable her to adequately understand, control, or manage a particular state of affairs, right? And this is talked about reading. This is probably all I'm going to keep from that. Knowing that we will never know everything we need to know leads to the understanding we must develop a higher ability to read and write. And so that's really where I felt like, yeah, I really got a hold of what I'm saying in this essay. When I did that explanation of that, I'm like, yeah, that's the point, right? If you know, and I know, then I will always need to learn more, right? I've got to learn to read even things like, you know, evolving slang. Not just this technical jargon, but the way we all talk, right? If I'm just stuck in 1980s and everything's the bomb, well, that's cute, but let's dial up, right? Something like that. That wasn't used right, but hey, I tried. That's how we do it, okay? So, and then this talks about challenging text, and it gives a great example that it's like physical therapy. You know, kind of has to hurt some, and that if teachers try to make it where it just doesn't hurt, that what we're not doing is developing those muscles, because our brains have a muscle as much as our, you know, calves and quads and everything else are. So, so that's where I end it, you know, and in the end I say that, look, on one hand we're pushed to live fast, read fast, go through everything, but then we also are required to deal with more and more text all the time. And in learning how to read, it's important. So it's important to find the balance. A little bit of Ken, a little bit of Oppenheimer, and even a little bit of Einstein. God, I was proud of that ending. So, yeah. Stuff in the middle, I don't know so much. And yes, I did have way too freaking many sources. Okay. Oh my God. I know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, 2 of them are definitions, okay? So those don't really count, so those 3 don't count. But also notice that what I have here is I also have, this is 10, so not counting the 2 reference pages, not counting the title page, I have 7 good full pages of text, okay? So out of the 10, we take out 3, that's about 7 sources that I'm actually using. The general rule of thumb, it's not like a mandatory rule, but you kind of don't want to go, like I want to have 10 sources and have 5 pages of text, because then, you know, where's me, right? You know, so the rule of thumb is kind of like maybe like 1 per page, give or take 1 or the other, right? So I hope that wasn't the plan, but I hope that like seeing that helps. Remember, you can look at it at any time, just the rabbit hole essays folder, and then there's the assignment itself, okay? So your job, essay 2, which is and always will be MLA, when we come back from Thanksgiving, it's due. Cool? Then just start working on this essay 3, which you've already got half of it written, right? Because we're just making it longer, okay? Thank you. Thank you.